Has anybody ever heard of the phrase Southern hospitality? I like that we have that phrase in the United States, but the truth is, there was an incredible gifting of hospitality in the Middle East and through Judaism and early Christianity. And we're going to discover today there is great power in hospitality. And it's something I think that we have lost. We've lost the power and the healing that happens through hospitality. And we're going to talk about what that means today from the Apostle John in 3 John chapter 1. Good morning, I'm Pastor Rini, Senior Pastor, Valley Christian Center. Welcome to 747 Morning Inspiration. So glad you joined me today. And remember to click like and continue to subscribe. Send this to your friends so they can subscribe, receive the notifications, because we want to keep going through the Bible together as the body of Christ in a year. And again, if you don't know how to download the app, go to our website at vccfresno.org. V is in victory, vccfresno.org, and download the Bible app, and you can be updated on how we go through the Bible. So let's talk about this short epistle, short letter the Apostle John wrote to the churches he was overseeing. And it begins like this. The elder to the beloved Gaius, whom I love in truth. Beloved, I pray that all may go well with you. You may be in good health as it goes well with your soul. For I rejoiced greatly when the brothers came and testified of your truth, as indeed you are walking in the truth. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. Again, the Apostle Paul uses the word truth throughout all of his letters. It's a big deal to him because truth, capital T, he believes is the revelation of God through his son Jesus. That's the one singular truth that never changes. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So therefore, truth is tied to everything that John says. But then he says this, verse 5. Beloved, he says, Beloved, it is a faithful thing you do in the efforts for these brothers, strangers as they are, who testified to your love before the church. So he is welcoming Gaius, by the way, who is he's naming this letter toward Gaius. We don't know if it's his real name or not. And by the way, Gaius was an extremely common name, like John would be in our country. So again, we know there was persecution happening in the church. So Gaius could be one of a 500,000 Romans. So he says, Beloved, it is a faithful thing you do in your efforts for these brothers and strangers as they are, who testify to your love before the church. He's talking about the fact that in those days, Christian ministers would be traveling from one small home church to another, and they would be received in a spirit of hospitality by the early church. They had nowhere to go, they had no way to support themselves. They were wholly dependent upon the brethren to support them as they traveled and brought support and hope and correct scriptural teachings to these small growing churches. And then he says, he calls him faithful. And he's faithful because he's taking care of these strangers, people that are coming to them as visitors. You will do well to send them on their journey in a manner worthy of God, for they have gone out for the sake of the name, accepting nothing from the Gentiles. Therefore, we ought to support people like these, that they may be fellow workers for the truth. So these individuals had no jobs outside of preaching the gospel. They had no support from the Roman government because that came with strings attached. That came just like today. Any kind of monies we receive from government sources has restrictions on proselyting or teaching Jesus to our co-workers. Those who work in government agencies, not private agencies, but government agencies, know the restrictions of receiving the money that comes with strings attached. And these itinerant preachers needed to have freedom to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, and they didn't want any governmental money from the Roman Empire to thwart their mission. So they were wholly dependent upon the hospitality of the Christians. Matthew 25:21 says this. This was a great compliment. Says this, sorry. He says, well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of the Lord. So we are told to be faithful in all that God has given us. And what he's saying to Gaius over this church is, you are being faithful and stewarding what I've given you by helping strangers, helping those that come in a spirit of hospitality. There is incredible power and healing in hospitality. Hospitality is not service. Service is what you do to someone. I bring you gas for your car, I serve you. I bring you a dish at a restaurant, I serve you. Hospitality is not doing things for others. Hospitality is how you make others feel, right? If I had you come over my house for dinner and opened my home and I treated you horribly and insulted you, then that's not hospitality. But I gave you food. But I let you come to my house. It doesn't matter. It's not what I do for you. That's service. It's how I make you feel. That's hospitality. So he's saying, if you're faithful for what I give you by helping others with what I give you, you are a faithful servant. Now, Jesus also said in Luke 14:12-14, again, about entertaining others, he says, when you give a luncheon or dinner, do not invite your friends or brothers or sisters or relatives or your rich neighbors. If you do, they may invite you back and you will be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. Although they cannot repay you, you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. Hospitality is a giving to others with no expectation of something in return. Next Wednesday night at the Valley Dream Center, we're having our Christmas block party, and we're inviting 300 families from our neighborhood. These are families that we know are struggling with their finances, struggling with life in general, struggling with jobs, and we're going to have a banquet for them. We're going to feed them, provide crafts for their children, and fun music and celebration and toys. We expect nothing in return. It's to make them feel loved and seen and honored. Hospitality is not doing something for others. It is how you make others feel. So he goes on to say about two other people in his church. I have written something to the church about Diotrephes, who likes to put himself first and does not acknowledge our authority. So there's someone in the church who is demanding to have more power, more authority, more say. It's the sin of pride. It's the original sin. He is not there to serve others. He is there to usurp authority and take more power. So if I come, verse 10, I will bring up what he is doing, talking wicked nonsense against us. That word wicked nonsense, by the way, is the root word of gossip. And gossip at its very beginning meant the bubbles that were boiling over on a boiling pot. Gossip at the root is representative of the boiling bubbles on top of water. In other words, they show up for a minute as a bubble, they disappear, and there's nothing to them. They are without any substance. They are nonsense. But they burn. Gossip burns, right? So the gases you cannot see, the gases have no substance, but they can burn. Gossip is literally leaving water and letting the water boil and broil with these substanceless bubbles on top, releasing gases that burn, but really don't bring any food and don't bring any help. So this Diotrephes was vying for power and harming and hurting people around him to get that. And he was talking nonsense, doing the opposite of hospitality. He says, and finishing verse 10, and not content with that, he refuses to welcome the brothers who also stops those who want to he refuses to welcome the brothers and also stops those who want to and puts them out of the church. He's saying He doesn't allow hospitality. What he's saying is, those people are not us. It's us and them. And so he is not practicing hospitality. He is saying, I'll take care of my little group, my little people, my little family, you're strangers, you're outsiders. And so he's not only not being hospitable, he's telling the church to shun the visitors that come to them. If you come to a restaurant and they ignore you and treat you poorly, will you ever go back? No. No matter how good the food is, if they make you feel less than, if they make you feel like you're an inconvenience, you're not going to come back to that restaurant. Same goes for someone's home. Same goes for someone's church. Same goes for whatever service you receive. So there's a guy named Diotrephes who's only interested in himself, has his group, my four and no more, and he's not welcoming strangers. He's losing the power of hospitality. There is power in how you make people feel. It is the best possible way to reach people for the gospel message. And then he says, verse 11, Beloved, do not imitate evil, but imitate good. Whatever does good is from God. Whoever does evil has not seen God. And then he gives another name. Demetrius has received a good testimony from everyone, and from the truth itself. We also add our testimony, and you know that our testimony is true. So he's saying, in your church, there is this Diotrephes. Don't be like him. There is this Demetrius who's hospitable and loving others. Be like him. You never want to be the name of a bad example. You always want to be the name of the good example. And it begins with good old-fashioned Christian hospitality. And his final greetings, he says, I had much to write to you, but I would rather not write with pen and ink. I hope to see you soon, and we will talk face to face. Why? Hospitality. We live in an email, social media, text society. Our younger generation has lost the capacity to have face-to-face communication. We need to restore Christian hospitality, not just in cooking dinner, not just inviting people to our home, but actually connecting with people. Connecting with people in a personal way, because hospitality is not doing things for others. Hospitality is how you make others feel. So let's work on that today, as the Apostle John has said, because there's great power in hospitality. So Father, I bless my brothers and sisters, especially now that we're coming up upon Christmas and New Year's. They'll be gathering with family and friends. Help us learn the Christian perspective and the power and the healing of hospitality. Let us be not afraid to open up and share what we have. It may be much, it may be little, it doesn't matter. Let us share what we have with others so they know they are seen, they are loved, and they are honored. Well, thank you again, everybody, for checking in. So many of you are commenting back. Thank you, Monica and Pam and Deborah, Dean, all you guys. You've been so faithful. Thank you so much. Remember, hit the like button. Hit the like button before you go. And then I will see you tomorrow morning at what time? That's right, 7:47. Love y'all. See you then.